Right, a very good evening to you and welcome to Breaking Today. My name is Frederick Muitiriri. My sign language interpreter tonight is Teresia Washira. But these are the highlights for today. ODM party leader asked members of parliament to drop the motion aimed at taming the hustler narrative. Political leaders crisscross Matungu campaigning in preparations for the highly anticipated by-elections. And Moi Girls Eldoret has been closed indefinitely following students' unrest. All right, welcome to the broadcast. But first I ask you this question. Do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Talk to us on 111 444 111. That is on 111 444 111. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube channel, Switch TV News. All right, we start off with, of course, politics. ODM leader Raila Odinga has advised members of parliament to drop the motion aimed at taming the hustler narrative, citing that Kenya is a free state and everyone has their freedom of speech, which is entrenched in the constitution. The handshake pioneer, however, recognizes that the hustler vs. dynasty narrative is dangerous for the country, saying numerous countries have suffered as a result of the class fight. Now, in a press statement, Odinga has said that, and I quote, "I have learned of a bill by Parliament's National Assembly Committee that seeks to criminalize Deputy President William Ruto hustler vs. dynasty campaign slogan and proposes severe fines, jail time, and even removal from office for any leader who propagates it." He continues to say, however, "I would strongly appeal to members of parliament to drop any attempts to legislate against this otherwise deadly slogan. As a country, we fought for and should respect free speech and association." End of quote. It is a statement that is coming into the newsrooms just about now, where Raila Odinga is saying that the deputy president should be allowed to continue with the hustler movement or narrative. Now, moving on, Deputy President William Ruto has challenged politicians to strike alliances based on ideologies, saying Kenya is now beyond tribal political formations. DP Ruto spoke today at his current residence in Nairobi County, where he met more than 400 grassroots leaders from Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Nyanza. The Deputy President explained that what Kenyans are after is the birth of a political outfit that will uplift their living standards. Present were MPs from Kuria West, Kuria East, Bomachoge, that is Owen Baya from Kilifi North, Kimani Ichung'wah from Kikuyu, Kipchumba Murkomen, amongst others.
If anybody has any alternative ideas and plans and programs, let them sell to the people of Kenya. We must have the formula to create wealth, to create jobs, to create opportunity.
It is from that story that I asked you earlier on, do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Talk to us on 111 444 111. Now, moving on, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has led KANU chairman Gideon Moi, Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, and Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper to drum support for Peter Nabulindo, the ANC candidate in the parliamentary by-election for Matungu constituency. Yesterday, the party leaders camped in Kabuchai constituency in Bungoma County to drum up support for Ford Kenya candidate Majibu Kalasinga ahead of the March 4th by-election.
The journey to State House is picking pace, with a political alliance now a reality. The three leaders are traversing the country, selling their unity agenda to Kenyans. They have announced their plans to join efforts ahead of the next elections.
Sisi tumeamua kupasua, na sio sisi peke yetu wane, tumepanua mlango, tutasonga mbele. We shall not, hakuna political debts, tunasema hiyo. Tutasema kwamba wanataka kutuunga mkono ambao ni viongozi, sisi tunaenda direct kwa raia.
Yesterday, the NC party leader Musalia Mudavadi said he stood with Raila in his presidential base in 2007 and 2017, and that time had come for him to reciprocate.
Musalia has invested 10 political years in him. Kalonzo has invested 10 political years in him. Kati ya sisi watatu tumeinvest in our brother Raila 30 political years. Sasa we ndugu Raila, this is your time now, bwana, to return your hand.
Matungo constituency seat fell vacant following the death of Morunga in December last year. Next week, the four leaders will move to Machakos in support of Wiper candidate Agnes Kavindu for the senatorial by-election. Majibu Kitao for Switch TV.
Now we shift gears to Eldoret, where Moi Girls High School in Eldoret has been closed indefinitely following protest earlier today in which students went on rampage demanding the transfer of the school principal Christine Chumba. The students, who blocked the school's gate for hours before they were addressed by Uasin Gishu County education officials, have accused their school principal of arrogance. The learners have until tomorrow to vacate the premises, according to a memo released by the county education director, Gitonga Mbaka. You know, during our days, you wouldn't even dare do that. You wouldn't dare do that. You are accusing the principal of arrogance. Wow. All right. Things have changed. Now, the government has provided 10 aircrafts for surveillance and pesticide spraying exercises to contain locust invasion in 6 counties as the country experiences the second wave of the attack. About 11 counties were initially affected and 5 have so far been contained, with the aircrafts expected to be active in the remaining 6 counties. This comes as the Food and Agriculture Organization is 3.7 billion shillings to continue the fight on the pest in Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia and Sudan, with Kala Mukavi, FAO Kenya country representative, saying they need 8 million shillings to continue control efforts in Kenya.
All that we've talked about could not happen and succeed without the deployment of certain aircraft that have been made available to combat this locust. We have seen at the back here, we have got a spray aircraft. At the other end, we have got a surveillance helicopter. So in total, the government, together with FAO and other development partners, have been able to put in place about 9 aircraft, 5 surveillance, and 4 spray. Additionally, they've also been able to strengthen and establish new operation bases. During phase 1, some of these bases were certainly scaled down because that phase had come to an end, but they're not completely closed down. So they were scaled down in the eventuality that we experience locust invasion again. And indeed, like they say that you never know what may happen tomorrow. Locust did come again, but luckily enough, we had this basis that was already existing. So all that the government, together with the partners, did was just to strengthen them and to reactivate them. So cumulatively, we had about initially 5 bases during phase 1, maybe 4 bases during phase 1, but we've been able now to add 2 other bases. So in total, we have the 2 that have been reactivated. So we have got Mandera as a new base and Witu as a new base.
Now to a more, rather beautiful story. The Catholic faithfuls in the country have today marked the beginning of the Lent season amid the pandemic. The faithfuls are turning up for in masses in huge numbers, unlike it was expected. The season marks the beginning of 40 days prayer and fasting with a focus on helping the needy in the society. Robert Ouma with the report.
In Nairobi's Holy Family Basilica, a huge congregation gathered to give praises. Mass was held at intervals with strict adherence to the COVID-19 protocols.
The response of people coming for this is overwhelming. Like this mass that we had at 3, usually there were fewer people, but it seems people are hungry, people are thirsty for the word of God, for following their liturgical rituals.
You may want to know why the ash on the forehead is of significance.
We are reminded that we are dust, and into dust we are going to return. So our journey is not ending here. There is somewhere we are going back to our Creator.
The day is marked with the faithful adhering to the religious norms, such as abstinence from eating meat on all Fridays of the Lent, refraining from all evil deeds in preparation of the climax Easter.
I think everything, God is in control of everything, and now we feel more energized and blessing that at least we can be present in the church.
It gives a chance to be closer to God, to pray, and to know more about God.
Thousands of Filipino Christians stand up wearing masks and the face shield in churches to observe the Ash Wednesday today, bowing their heads to receive the sprinkling of ash on the forehead. The ashes are traditionally dabbed on the forehead, but the ritual was changed last year due to the pandemic. A continued rise in coronavirus cases and lack of vaccination drive means the churches have had to maintain strict safety protocols. The day marks the beginning of Lent, and it is an important religious date in the Catholic nations. Today, marking the beginning of the Lent season, Christians are called upon to reflect, reevaluate, repent, reconcile with God, focusing on helping the needy in the society. Robert Oma, Switch TV News.
Beautiful season for the Catholic faithfuls, including Teresia Wachira. All right, now scientists have made milestones in coming up with 3 major breakthroughs on HIV and AIDS, reducing the risk of contracting HIV at a very low rate with promises of eliminating the disease by 2030. Our reporter Harry Chimea gives us the more insight on the breakthrough in the treatment for HIV and AIDS.
HIV continues to be a major global public health issue, having claimed almost 33 million lives so far, according to the World Health Organization. However, with increasing access to effective HIV prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and care, this could change. Scientists have come up with 3 major breakthroughs to save humanity from HIV and AIDS, announced by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the US, also termed as the CDC HIV and AIDS. The breakthroughs include injectable PrEP. The injection will be done once a month and will reduce the prevalence of HIV by oral pill at 1.9% to the injectable PrEP at 0.2%. There is monthly injections for HIV patients that combines 2 drugs, Carbinuva and Cabotegravir, that suppresses the virus.
The combination of the 2 drugs put in one as an injectable works the same way as taking pills every day, and that will reduce the pill burden in our patient, and it will increase adherence.
Vaginal ring is another method, also known as the deprivin, that helps caution women against HIV infections by 35%.
From the information we have right now is that it will be at 28 days. You will put it for 28 days in the vagina, then remove it. It will be replaced every 28 days. So it stays in the vagina for 28 days. Then after 28 days, you remove, you put another. But you see, it's a new treatment modality. We are yet to know more about it as maybe we get it in our country.
When it comes to coronavirus, people living with HIV and on effective antiretroviral treatment, ART, do not appear to be at greater risk of getting COVID-19, although they are urged to go for treatment and take extra caution. Harriet Chimea reporting for Switch TV.
That is our health reporter, Harriet Chimea. Many thanks. Now, the Ministry of Health has today launched the End Malaria Council and introduced Christopher Gitonga as the newly inaugurated chair. The End Malaria Council is a public-private community partnership established to support the control and elimination of malaria in Kenya. Sazamunga with more.
The End Malaria Council is mandated to see Kenya eradicate malaria by 2030. The 11-member council will also establish systems for malaria elimination in target counties, which are mainly found in the Lake Victoria region, the coast and the highland areas.
For the national average, the burden of malaria is not spread evenly across our great country. The greatest burden, as was ably demonstrated here in the presentation,
The council is set to provide leadership and management for implementation of malaria inventions and also bridging malaria resources gaps.
A healthy economy requires healthy and educated workers, especially as we look forward to the recovery following the ongoing pandemic. To succeed in our mission to end malaria, we must address financial resource gaps that have been demonstrated here by the able presenters. And what Githuka said about the resource gap of 24 billion to fully implement our current malaria strategic plan, which covers between 2019 and 2023, is indeed a challenge. We must close this gap to ensure that we have the required malaria supplies to not only treat malaria, but effectively prevent it in the first place.
15% of Kenya hospital visits in the country are attributed to malaria, with the disease being the highest killer of children under 5 years. According to CDC, there are an estimated 3.5 million new clinical cases and 10,700 deaths each year in Kenya. And those living in Western Kenya have an especially high risk of malaria, as it does in many countries around the world. Sazamunga, Switch TV.
Many thanks, Saza. Now we take a short break, but before we do that, I asked you, do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Do you think politicians can form alliances based on ideologies? Talk to us on 111 444 111. A short break. We'll be back with more in a short while. All right, welcome back. Now, when COVID-19 hit the country, so many companies closed down as others downsized to be able to sustain their operations. Some firms were genuine, but others used COVID-19 as an excuse to lay off the already underpaid workers. Namukana Samuel went deep into the pandemic quagmire to understand these phenomena. We now bring you the COVID-19 scapegoat.
I get even anything out of it or out of being employed because
Ruth and Mary, not their real names, were employed for over 2 years in a famous 5-star hotel here in Nairobi. But no sooner had the COVID-19 pandemic struck the country than they were laid off in what they term as a malicious move by their employer.
Immediately the first case of coronavirus came to Karen. And
from March, after Corona started, we were sent home on unpaid leave, which we understood because of Corona, yes, but according to law, the CBA which we work for and which governs us, the hotelier, we are not supposed to go on an unpaid leave.
From the documents in our possession, the said company management on 18th of March 2020 sent this letter to its employees. It was a letter meant to send them home for an unpaid leave from 19th of March to end of June 2020. 3 months of agony, confusion and suffering.
Us personally, hatuna internal union. We just chose, okay, sawa, tupatieni barua sitwe. Twende. Anyway, it was Corona. There's nothing we could do.
So the experience has not been okay, of course. Like, I lost my house actually because I can't even afford it. Then I have a kid. She's gone back to school. She was supposed to report, of course, like the other kids. You have to go talk to the teachers. Like, living with a friend now has become a crazy situation.
On 29th of June, before the unpaid leave was over, the same company sent this second letter extending the unpaid leave from 1st of June up to 30th of September 2020, another 3 months of uncertain future. Later, some of these workers who were permanently employed were now being called in to work for this hotel as casual workers.
So if an employer has sent out his employees on unpaid leave, that becomes unconstitutional at that point. And the employee may sue for constructive dismissal, which essentially is that the employer's conduct has forced the employee to quit his or resign his employment with his employer.
The hotel has been running from around June, July. It was officially opened. Nobody has been called back to work. What they do, they call people to work on casual basis. You're a permanent staff, but working on casual basis.
The workers claim the union that is supposed to fight for their rights was sidelining with the company's management and at the expense of employees' livelihoods.
You cannot come to the studio, Samuel. I told you, as an institution, do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
I cannot come to the studio to address a matter that I have a channel that is laid down, that I'm following.
Now, here comes the problem. We were thinking that we have a union that is supposed to actually protect us and like guide us through these things when they are happening. The first time it happened on March, of course everybody understood. But now that things are going like crazy every day, we expected them to stand with us more right now.
From a survey by the Central Bank of Kenya, conducted on November 10th and 12th, 2020, 96% of hotels sampled across the country were now operating at 89% in September, compared to the initial 35% as seen in May of the same year. Even after the report was issued by the Central Bank of Kenya, the said hotel still sent this third letter extending the unpaid leave to January 2021 for the affected employees, further complicating their financial status during this pandemic.
The hotel is still running. That is our worry. Like, did they just forget us? Should we say like we no longer are employed? Can they? Okay, what I can say is, why don't they just pay us our dues and like let us go, because we've been out here.
There are cases where people have not been paid for more than 1 year, Others have totally just sent staff home. But staff themselves argue that they can see work, the company has a good turnover.
Exclusively, we managed to get these documents showing how much the company was making in terms of profit during the pandemic. From our research, we discovered that some companies made more money in December 2020 during the pandemic compared to what they made in December 2019, but they still went on ahead to lay off workers. In June 2020, the company made a total of 2.9 million in total revenue. In July of the same year, after COVID-19 restrictions were eased, the company made 6.1 million, more than a double figure in a period of 1 month.
Wamefungua, and they are using the permanent staff to work on casual basis. Yet they're getting revenue. They're getting revenue. These people, okay, hata kama ni ile tu waseme, tungekuwa tunapea staff wetu juu wako nje, honestly tunawapea hata kama ni 10k walipe rent.
I can tell you how many labor malpractices that we've had, and everything points to COVID. So many people, you will find banks dismissing their employees based on COVID, even for small misconducts that are not, even in their HR policy.
In August, the company made a total of 6.7 million. Then in September, the revenue blew up to 14.5 million.
Across many companies, many organizations for that matter, even which may not be companies in the legal sense, have used Corona as an excuse to lay off the workers.
And in October 2020, the revenue of the hotel in question rose to 15 million.
This employer doesn't know how you're surviving out there. This employer doesn't want to care, like, hey, there are parents there, outside there, they have kids, they need to go to school. January imekuja.
Towards the end of the pandemic year of 2020, in November, the hotel was in full-blown business operation as it made 18.4 million in total revenue, and in December of the same year, it made a total of 12.7 million despite all the workers still being on unpaid leave.
In real sense, when I came for work, I came and did an interview and talked to the management. What is so hard right now for them to talk to us? We understand. We are parents like them. We are human beings as well. Why are they not talking to us? That's the question.
It now seems that COVID-19 was used as a scapegoat to lay off workers in so many companies in the country. Namkana Samuel, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Quite a sad situation there. Yeah, you're making profit, but some other people are, it's time for business. Thank you so very much, Namkana Samuel. Now, Cliff, it's your time.
It's time for the latest from the world of business. Good evening. My name is Cliff Fondubi. Now, artificial intelligence is beneficial for executing simple tasks of speech recognition to the complex trait of managing and moving objects. However, due to the limited number of artificial intelligence solution providers available in Kenya, it is extremely troublesome to find a reliable partner and solutions. Although innovations in Kenya are on the rise, most of them are not meeting the societal problems that we face, and Kenya needs to move with speed to match the speed the first-class world nations are moving with. Will they? But let's have a general understanding into what this is and how its industrial players are working to revolutionize the industry.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence, a disruptive technology where machines mimic the human intelligence. It is a technology that is slowly changing the technological space in Kenya.
The rate of adoption is still very low, but there's a lot of enthusiasm into this, right from government, from innovators, and even learning institutions.
While many might link artificial intelligence to replacing human labor, the players in the industry are of a different opinion.
Technology and machine cannot completely replace human beings. That is one thing that we need to look at it. But I also want us to think about not only at the production. Can we look along the whole value chain? from the production to getting that product to the market.
Whereas in Kenya, innovations have been on the rise, the standards are still wanting because most of them are not providing societal solutions to the problems that we face as a country.
The most important thing is to see the interface of these innovations and their relevance to the sectors of the economy with regard to the problems they are solving in the economy.
To make artificial intelligence in Kenya more competitive, time has come for learning institutions to introduce these studies in an ever-changing technological world.
It should be very fast. It should be very fast because human problems are not waiting. The world population is increasing. The problems that the humans are facing are increasing. We have pandemics, we have war, we have epidemics happening, we have the problems of hunger, we have disease. So it's something that is urgent.
And finally, national flag carrier Kenya Airways is missing in 14 airlines that have signed an agreement with the United Nations regarding distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine in Africa. KQ, which had recently converted its Boeing 787 passenger into a freighter, is missing in a list which comprises of only 2 airlines in Africa, which includes the Nairobi-based Astral Aviation and the Ethiopian Airways. Brian Mwenda with more.
Earlier this month, Kenya Airways converted its Boeing 787 passenger plane into a freighter in a bid to have a share of the vaccine business.
KQ is 100% ready to offer the Kenyan government and many other African governments very robust solutions in the movement of the COVID-19 vaccines.
However, the national carrier is now missing on the list of the airplanes in agreement with the United Nations to distribute the free COVID-19 vaccine in Africa. The airline had last year launched a modern pharma cargo facility at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as it eyed vaccination distribution business. The selected carriers are expected to transport 600 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine between March and December 2021. This shocker adds more pressure to the national carrier as it continues to experience more losses during the pandemic period. Brian Mwenda, Switch TV News.
From Brian Mwenda, we end business news of the day. Up next is sports news.
Time for sports. The Black Stars of Ghana put 4 past Tanzania in a Group C match of the ongoing AFCON Under-20 Championship in Mauritania. Pashia's Boa put Ghana ahead just after 3 minutes before Abdul Fatuwu doubled the lead. In the half-hour mark, Precious made it 3 in the 71st minute. Then Josepho Baines sealed the win with a 4th goal just a minute to the final whistle. In another Group C match, Morocco snatched a narrow win after beating Gambia by a solitary goal. All right, my director is telling me it's time to kukafunga. Some of the SMSs that came in. Zakaria Karanja. Fred, you look great. Okay. Davy, never. These people are just selfish and self-centered. Somebody else is saying, Andrew Ngige, yes, they can form alliances based on ideologies. They do. Question is ideology, greed, and self-gratification. That's all we had for you. See you tomorrow, same time. Have yourself a good night. My name is Frederick Mitiriri. My sign language interpreter is Torasia Washira. Caribbean.